she thought no one was watching. It started in a quiet upscale cafe in the heart of Manhattan, where 10-year-old Marcus was waiting for his dad. Dressed in clean jeans and a hoodie, he didn't look like the son of one of the wealthiest men in the country. He was just a kid, polite, soft-spoken, and lost in a book while sipping his hot chocolate. But to the woman sitting at the next table, he didn't belong. She stared, frowned, and then did something no one saw coming. Without warning, she walked over and slapped the book out of Marcus's hands. "Kids like you shouldn't be here," she snapped, her voice sharp enough to turn a few heads. Marcus looked up, stunned, not knowing how to respond. He stayed seated, frozen. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that someone had just walked in. Someone tall, calm, and dressed in a crisp, dark suit. It was his father. The man behind half of the city's skyline, the billionaire with influence that stretched far beyond business. And in that moment, standing just a few feet away, he'd seen everything. Every single word, every bit of disrespect aimed at his son. What happened next changed the energy of that cafe instantly. But this isn't just a story about status or power. It's about how we treat people when we think no one's watching. And in this case, the woman had no idea just how wrong she was. Because the look in the billionaire's eyes, that was not the look of someone about to stay silent. What do you think he did next? Stay tuned. People in the cafe had gone quiet. The clink of cups, the soft background music, it all faded as eyes shifted toward the tall man walking slowly toward the table. Marcus hadn't seen his father yet, but the woman noticed him. Her confident posture faltered just a bit, but she still didn't realize who he was. Just another man in a suit, she must have thought. But this wasn't just another man. This was Cameron Brooks, CEO, real estate mogul, and one of the most respected black businessmen in the country. A billionaire who'd built everything from the ground up. He wasn't flashy, didn't crave the spotlight, but when it came to his son, there were no second chances. He placed a hand gently on Marcus's shoulder. "You okay, son?" he asked, his voice calm but heavy with unspoken weight. Marcus nodded slowly, still not saying much. He didn't have to. The confusion in his eyes said it all. The woman shifted in her seat, clearly uncomfortable now. She opened her mouth to say something, maybe an excuse or an apology, but nothing came out. Her eyes flicked to Cameron's face, and something about the way he looked at her, quiet, steady, made her freeze. She still didn't know who he was. Not yet. People whispered quietly, phones in hands, trying to act casual while recording. They didn't want to miss what would happen next. And as the moment hung in the air, heavy and thick, Cameron leaned down just a little, looking straight at the woman. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "I saw everything," he said. That's all he said. But that was enough to send a chill down her spine. And the real story, it was just getting started. The woman's eyes darted around the cafe, as if searching for an exit. The moment had slipped out of her control, and she knew it. But instead of apologizing, she crossed her arms and forced a tight smile. "I didn't mean anything by it," she said, her voice shaky but still laced with attitude. "I just thought he was bothering people." Cameron didn't respond right away. He looked at her, not with anger, but with disappointment, the kind that cuts deeper than yelling ever could. "Bothering people," he repeated softly, glancing down at Marcus, who had gone quiet again. He was sitting alone, reading, drinking cocoa. The woman shrugged, trying to keep her composure. "It just looked off, that's all." By now, the cafe manager had come out from behind the counter, unsure whether to step in or stay back. A few customers had stopped pretending to sip their coffee, fully tuned in. Some recognized Cameron. Others were just following the rising tension like a movie unfolding in real life. Meanwhile, Marcus's eyes shifted toward a couple at the back of the cafe. An older man and woman. They looked familiar. Cameron noticed too. Those were the people the woman had been chatting with earlier. Were they with her? friends, family. Their expressions were uneasy now, watching from a distance but not saying a word. Something deeper was going on here. This wasn't just a single act of ignorance. There was a layer of judgment beneath it, the kind that runs silent until it shows its face at the worst time. Outside the cafe, a sleek black SUV was pulling up. The driver, in a dark uniform, stepped out and looked through the glass. He could see the tension. Inside, Marcus finally whispered, "Dad, let's just go." But Cameron didn't move. Not yet. Cameron stood still, hand still resting lightly on Marcus's shoulder. The woman, now visibly nervous, tried to laugh it off. "Look, it's not that serious," she said, backing up half a step. "You don't have to make a scene." But it was serious, not just because of what she'd done to Marcus, but because of what it meant. In that moment, it wasn't just about her and this cafe. It was about every time his son might be judged before he speaks, doubted before he's seen. It was about what Marcus would carry home in silence, and what Cameron had spent years shielding him from. Cameron finally straightened his back, his eyes still locked on hers. The cafe was silent. No one moved. The only sound was the soft buzz of a phone camera recording nearby. Someone whispered his name. "It's that Cameron Brooks." And the air shifted again. People were starting to realize. The woman's friends at the back were whispering now too. One of them picked up a phone and began texting furiously, maybe Googling, maybe trying to figure out just how bad this was about to get. The driver outside opened the cafe door slowly, but Cameron raised one hand without looking back. Not yet. He turned to Marcus and knelt beside him, voice low and warm. "You didn't do anything wrong. You hear me?" Marcus nodded slowly, still quiet, but this time with a little more strength in his eyes. Then Cameron stood and looked at the cafe manager. "Do you allow this kind of behavior here?" he asked, calmly, but loud enough for everyone to hear. The manager swallowed hard and stepped forward, caught between his regular customers and a billionaire who could end this place with one press release. Outside, more people were stopping, peering in. Something big was coming, and no one could look away. Before the manager could even respond, the cafe door swung open again. A tall man in a grey blazer stepped inside, moving with a kind of confidence that only comes from knowing you belong everywhere. He wasn't just another customer, he was the cafe owner. You could see it in how the staff reacted, how the manager stepped back immediately. "Is there a problem here?" the owner asked, scanning the room quickly. His eyes landed on Cameron, then on Marcus, and finally on the woman standing stiffly beside the table. The manager hesitated. There was an incident. The woman jumped in, her voice louder now, defensive. "This is getting blown out of proportion. I didn't know who he was. I thought he was loitering or bothering people. That's all." The owner blinked. "You slapped a child. In my cafe." She went pale. Her mouth opened, then shut. She had nothing. But then, something none of them expected. The man who had been sitting with her earlier, one of the people in the back, stood up and walked forward. He looked regretful, nervous, and when he spoke, his voice cracked slightly. "Cameron, I didn't know she would do that. I swear." Cameron turned slowly, eyes narrowing. Recognition hit him instantly. The man wasn't a stranger. He was a real estate investor, someone Cameron had been in talks with just weeks ago. A potential partner. A man who had shaken his hand, praised his work, smiled in his face. And now he was standing behind the woman who just disrespected Cameron's son in public. Marcus looked up, confused. "You know him?" Cameron nodded once. "Yeah, I do." Now it wasn't just about a slap. It wasn't just about ignorance. It was about trust, business, reputations, and the kind of people who smile in boardrooms but stay silent when it matters most. And just like that, everything shifted. Again, the tension in the cafe was thick. All eyes were on Cameron, waiting to see what he'd do. The man from the back, the potential business partner, stood awkwardly beside the woman, his hands out like he was trying to fix something already broken. "Cameron, I didn't know," he said again, softer this time. "She's my sister. She was visiting. I didn't expect." His voice trailed off. Cameron looked between them. The woman, the man, then back to Marcus. "You had a front row seat," Cameron said, his tone calm but cutting. "You watched it happen. You didn't step in. You didn't even flinch." The man started to speak again, but Cameron cut him off. "Don't worry. You've told me everything I need to know." Then he turned to the cafe owner. "Thank you for your time. You've got good people working here, but this isn't a space I'll be returning to." The owner tried to apologize, stumbling over his words, but Cameron was already turning to Marcus. "Let's go." The two of them began walking toward the door. The driver outside stepped forward to open it, but just as they reached the threshold, the woman called out, "Wait." Cameron stopped, slowly turned. "I Googled you," she said, her voice shaky. "I didn't know who you were. I made a mistake." Cameron stared at her for a long moment, then said, "You still don't know who I am. Because if you did, you'd understand this has nothing to do with *me*. It's about how you saw *him*. The room stayed quiet as father and son walked out into the afternoon light, the SUV door swinging open. Cameras outside flashed, capturing the moment. But just before the door shut, Marcus looked back and saw something strange. The man, his dad's former business contact, pulling out his phone, not to call for a ride, to call a reporter. And just like that, this story wasn't over. By the time Cameron and Marcus reached home, the video had already gone viral. Clips from the cafe were all over social media, some showing the slap, others capturing Cameron's calm but powerful response. Hashtags like #protect black children and #Cameron Brooks were trending. News outlets were already calling his team, asking for a statement. Marcus sat on the edge of the couch, still trying to make sense of everything. "Why did she do that?" he asked quietly. "She didn't even know me." Cameron sat beside him and put a hand on his shoulder. "Some people judge based on what they think they see, but that's not on you, that's on them." Marcus nodded, a little stronger this time. Meanwhile, the man from the cafe, Cameron's former business associate, was now in damage control. His call to the reporter had backfired. The story broke not as a defense, but as an expose. People questioned not just the woman's behavior, but his silence. Investors began to pull away. A deal Cameron had quietly walked from was now completely off the table, and not because he said a word. The truth had spoken for itself. Back at the cafe, the owner issued a public apology. The woman? She disappeared from public view, her face frozen in that now famous moment when she realized she'd messed with the wrong kid, at the wrong time, for all the wrong reasons. Cameron didn't seek revenge. He didn't need to. His focus stayed on Marcus, teaching him that strength doesn't always come from raising your voice. Sometimes it's in knowing who you are and refusing to shrink. And as the noise faded, one thing became clear. People will always remember what happened in that cafe. But more importantly, they'll remember how a father stood tall for his son without ever raising his voice.